This is part 2 of building your XCS 427 box chassis, and today we're going to start removing all of the powder coat from all of the holes and threaded areas. So use a file on all of the holes and then get a tap and go through anything that's threaded. The trick is to take enough off to get the bolts to go through nice and easily, but never take off any more than you need. There are going to be certain areas on the chassis where your filing might go through and potentially damage a part of the powder coat behind. Here's a great example. So an old trick that we've used is a little bit of rubber hose or silicone, and then you can file through without damaging the powder coat underneath. So wherever there's a threaded area on the chassis, use the tap, get it nice and clean, and just test it with a bolt first to make sure that it threads in nicely. Any edges of powder coat on the arms will also need to be gently filed back. Again, take just enough. And here is the ball joint seat on the chassis. A Scotch-Brite wheel will nicely clean that out before you gently grease the ball joint and slide it in, and do it up with the nuts provided. Don't forget the washers. Now, before you fit the A-arm, it's a good idea to protect the powder coat with some tape. Low-tack masking tape will do it. And get a friend to help, it's just a little bit easier. Use the nylock nut on top to secure the A-arm, and then you're into greasing, ready to fit the bushes. Use lithium moly grease when installing the bushes into the rear trailing links, and use plenty on the metal bush centre insert. Now, these can take a little bit of persuasion to get in, but a good press on a solid workbench should do the trick. And if you put enough grease on, this should all be possible to be done by hand. The tolerances are tight, but not enough that you can't press them in. A little hammer sometimes helps. So there you go, one trailing link ready to be fitted. Again, a little bit more lithium grease all over both faces, all over the bolts, and it should slide in absolutely perfectly. Again, don't forget the washers on the bolts here as you bolt up. So now it's time for the setup bars or shocks. We're using setup bars here just to dummy fit everything for you. Nip that on with a nylock nut, and you can then hang the De-Dion tube on the back. Then place the A-arm over the bush on the back beam. Tighten up your shocks, bolt through in both cases, and finish putting the rest of your trailing arms in. Again, stress, don't forget your washers and nylocks. Easiest way to do it is to nip in the first instance and then tighten towards the end when you know everything is in the right place. You're now ready for the next stage.